and then just hit start video, and then it'll get the rolling.
Great. That's good.
All set?
Sorry.
Thanks again. Good evening. My name is Stephen Tyler with Howard Stein Hudson. I'm an associate principal and project manager for the Town of Hampden Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Fiscal Year 24 Action Grant, which included the presentation just by the Conway School, and this part of our presentation is talking about the Main Street Bridge replacement. As an introduction to our team members here tonight, myself, directly to my left is Colin Costello, our senior structural engineer on the project. Next to him is Chris Lyman, our civil engineer. And then in the audience, we have Mary Monahan, who's been our key public works consultant on the project. And we also have Taylor O'Neill helping us this evening. Thank you. To briefly go through our agenda, we'll be talking about the project funding today, the project location, existing site conditions, project goals, the bridge design itself, the civil and roadway design, the permitting that goes with the project, followed by next steps, and provide you the location of our project informational website, and with question and answer period. With regard to funding for the project, this project is funded by a Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant. The grant award amount was $247,000 roughly, and it is co-matched with in-kind services by the Town of Hampden. The in-kind services are roughly $33,000 with a cash match appropriation of $50,000, bringing the total project cost to roughly $330,000. The location of the bridge site, as mentioned, is one of the locations by the Conway School, is at the near the intersection of Main Street and Glendale Road. And it's just west of the Laughing Brook Wildlife Sanctuary. You can see the bridge label here on this figure. And one of the key things to point out about this figure is it's located in a beautiful green open space area. The yellow hatch indicates habitat that's mapped and regulated by the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. And so that's certainly an aspect, but it also shows the value of this site to the environment and as well as the animals wildlife that live in the area. And this is just another view of the bridge site, kind of showing you natural conditions. And a close-up of the bridge site where you can see the little bit of the constraint where the bridge is located at the road, close proximity of the caretaker's house for the Mass Audubon property to the left, as well as the driveway to the Mass Audubon facility to the right. So just talking about the goals associated with this project, the key goal is to enhance the local climate change resiliency due to flooding. That's where we started with the Mass Utility Vulnerability Preparedness Program. After the first couple of years of study, this was the primary need for the community, and that's why it's the project that we're working on. Obviously, the next goal was to replace the bridge structure, maintain the rural character of the area, improve access and safety for all users. That means pedestrians, potential bicyclists, roadway vehicle users, and so forth. We want to meet the Massachusetts stream crossing standards, and that's certainly key to resiliency and is one of the founding requirements of the Massachusetts Vulnerability Preparedness Program, that projects like this meet the Massachusetts stream crossing standards. We certainly want to minimize impacts to East Brook, the associated wetlands, wildlife habitat, as well as the Laughing Brook Wildlife Sanctuary, and do the best that we can to minimize impacts to roadway users during construction. And also, we want to make accommodations to incorporate future low impact and green infrastructure design that provides stormwater quality improvements, as was presented earlier this evening by the Conway School. And with that being said, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Colin, our structural engineer.
Thanks, Steve. Like you said, my name is Colin Costello. I am the structural bridge engineer on this project. Just wanted to kind of give an overview of some of the main issues with the existing structure. Primarily picture on the right, and the reason behind the grant is that the hydraulic opening for the bridge is just too small. I think that, based on everything that has been said here, as well as the presentation before us, it almost creates a dam, right? So with that being said, we'd be opening up the structure span in order to facilitate, more flow through the brook. Second part of the reason for replacing the bridge, as you can see in the picture on the left, the exterior beams are in serious need of help. There's large holes through them at the beam ends, which is why you have what were barrels at the time the picture was taken there, but it drove past there today, and there's more formidable barrier keeping you away from driving on that part of the road. So this is a proposed elevation of the proposed structure. The existing bridge has a clear span of 16 feet, so that's from face of abutment to face of abutment. The proposed structure will double that. We double it to 32.2. That is intended to meet or follow Massachusetts stream crossing guidelines, as well as a hydraulic analysis which was performed as part of this project in order to meet Massachusetts requirements of you need a minimum of 2 feet of freeboard above the design flood elevation, which is the 25-year design flood. Next slide. So these are basically two cross sections of the existing and proposed bridge. The existing bridge is 44 feet wide from out to out, and has a roadway width of 31.2. The proposed cross section, as you can see on the bottom of the screen there, will be 45.9. So we're not intending to drastically increase the footprint of this structure. It's just utilizing the space that's already there better. There are a lot of unpaved gravel areas on both sides of the roadway on this bridge that are kind of just unusable space right now. The intent to match or to meet Massachusetts complete streets requirements would be to add sidewalks on both sides of the roadway, as well as 5-foot shoulders, which can accommodate bicycle traffic through the site. And then this is just a picture of the proposed bridge rail. It's in the bridge world, it's called an S3TL4 railing. It is a metal bridge rail. There is a substandard kind of pedestrian rail out there now that is not up to current standards. So the idea would be to replace it with a metal railing which meets Massachusetts bridge requirements today. So this is just a picture of a bridge over the Merrimack River in Lowell, but wanted to give everybody a sense of kind of the railing type that would be put out there as part of the proposed project. A couple other things to note of the design for the bridge is it's designed for a 75-year design life to meet current regulatory loading requirements, and also, as Steve had earlier said, following the Massachusetts stream crossing standards. The channel under the bridge will also provide, there are benches on either side of the channel, which provides wildlife passage, which is another aspect of the stream crossing guidelines. So that is all I have. I will turn it over to Chris to kind of give you an overview of what's going on with the roadway that's associated with the bridge replacement.
Thank you, Colin. So I said, my name is Chris Lyman. I'm a staff civil engineer. I was the lead civil designer for this project. I've also been in town a good amount on the other parts of the MVP project, including the inspections of all the culverts. This view you see here is just a top view rendering of the proposed design. If you look at the center there, you can see where the bridge is going to be with the sidewalks on either side, and the 11-foot lanes and the 5-foot shoulder. The existing conditions out there right now are, like Colin said, are 12-foot lanes. So this rendering just shows how we're tapering back to those 12-foot lanes after you get away from each side of the bridge on the east and west side. Also looking at this, you can see we're redoing some of the driveway approaches. One of the driveways is to Laughing Brook. The other one is to the caretaker's house. It's also on Mass Audubon property. We're doing that to add lips to these driveways so that any runoff from the roadway won't carry down those driveways. Because right now I know one of the problems at the Laughing Brook Sanctuary is that water does run off the roadway and does sometimes flood their entrance to their driveway. So we're trying to keep water from the roadway from going down to Laughing Brook by redirecting it to the corners of the bridge. So if you look at either corner of the bridge, you can see there's a big area that's green. That's going to be area where we're going to be regrading those, not only to accommodate for the bridge construction, but also to accommodate to get out some of the invasive species there. In those areas, we're proposing to put a conservation New England seed mix in those locations. Should again help treat water and bring more of natural plant life back to that area. Also shown here is we're also adding guardrail on 3 of the ends of the bridge here. So that should bring the bridge up to safety standards, because that'll be TL3 certified guardrail, which is the newest standard now. Next slide. So I guess now we're going to go into how this is going to be constructed. It's going to go over 2 construction phases, basically, which will consist of 2 construction seasons. And when I say construction seasons, I mean normally, construction starts in the spring and sometime in late fall when you get into winter time. So that's like the length of the construction season. This will be over about 2 construction seasons. And based on our 2023 traffic counts we did here in town, we found an average daily traffic of just around 4,500 cars pass over that location per day during the week, and about 2% of truck traffic. Based off of that, we found the most efficient way to do temporary traffic control to this area to replace the bridge, to replace one bridge side of the bridge at a time, which means we're gonna have to limit the movement of traffic down to a singular lane going each direction with temporary traffic signals behind each end. So basically one lane will stop, wait for traffic to pass, the next lane will get the green, same thing. So that's gonna be through a 2 construction phase season, which could be around 18 months. You might have a single lane roadway to this location. Next slide. And here's just showing the second phase of the project would happen in the second construction season. So kind of now we're going to go into where we are at this point for this project. So as of right now, the 100% bridge plans were submitted to the town for review back on April 11th. We received comments back from the town on April 26th, and we have addressed all those comments in our plans, and we are now at the 100% design plans completed now. Actually, as of last week, we completed the 100% design plans to include any comments we'd received from the town. We also are doing environmental permitting and different types of permitting for this project. There's 4 environmental permits that we have to submit. One of them is a notice of intent to the Hampden Conservation Commission. Another one is this project is located within rare and endangered species habitat, so we have to submit a MESA checklist to the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife to make sure we're not adversely affecting endangered species habitat. We also have to submit a project notification form to the Massachusetts Historical Commission because we are abutting a historical house, which is the caretaker's house on Mass Audubon property. So we're gonna make sure we're not adversely affecting that property either with our project. We also submit a project pre-construction notification form to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to make sure that we're hydraulically designing this bridge appropriately. And then also we have to do a Mass DOT Chapter 85 bridge submittal. That's for all bridges in the state. You have to do a Chapter 85 submittal. Again, it's just an overview by the state to make sure that the bridge is being designed to the proper standards. We sent all those permits over to the town. We've given them until May 21st to review those permits. That's including the Conservation Commission, make sure that they see that all the BMPs we're doing and everything that we've accounted for is accurate. And we're looking to, once we receive those comments back, HSH is going to address those comments and then submit all these documents to the appropriate authorities. So then the project completions, so the 100% design and roadway will be completed again, like I said, in May. The Conway Schools low impact design and green infrastructure concept should be completed sometime in June of 2024. So then it's really, how do we get the next steps for this project? The first one being, we need to receive a notification from MVP on we submitted a grant application for fiscal year 2025 to get fundings to complete this project and really get it to, shovel ready. We're at the point where we're ready to actually start the construction of the bridge. We should hopefully hear back by August of 2024. Once we get that funding and with that fiscal year 25, we'll be finalizing design and getting any type of permits that we need, that we filed, any comments we got from those permits to be included in the project. And then we need to, again, secure the construction funding for the project itself. So this is just, those first two bullet points really just get you to the final design where we're ready to actually start construction, but we still need to figure out a way to secure funding to actually construct the bridge itself. There's multiple of sources you can do. You can do TIP funding, you can do MVP funding, which is how you guys, which we guys secured just to design this bridge. There's small bridge grants, Chapter 90 and other local funding. So there's many options that we can look at to help fund construction of this bridge project. For anybody who's looking for more information on the Hampden MVP program as a whole, so anything coming back from 2021 when this project started, you can visit the Town of Hampden MVP program website, which you can see right here. It should give you information on from the start of the project, any reports that we've had to submit to MVP. There might be some recordings of previous meetings we've had, and you should be able to find any new submissions we've made for the fiscal year 24.
I'll also add on that website too, if you guys are interested in getting involved, there's a list of other engagement opportunities coming up where we have like the flyers, the dates, the time, the location. So if you guys want to keep being involved, those are also on the website.
And yeah, thank you very much. If anybody has any questions.
I have a question.
Please.
Brian, I didn't tell me the bridge. When we widen that bridge, do we know what the downstream impacts to the Scantic River might be? It joins the Scantic River shortly after it passes under the road, correct?
Yeah.
What that's going to be when we allow either more water to come through? It's just going to, I imagine it's going to have some change, but do we have any idea what that would be?
Yeah, so as part of the project where we performed a hydraulic analysis, and the requirements of a hydraulic analysis are you meet a no-rise flood criteria. So existing and proposed, basically, you're not increasing the floodplain, you're not increasing the flooding, you're making sure that downstream is not going to flood. So as part of that hydraulic report, that was checked. Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some, will there be changes to the river channel itself, do we think?
Within the limits of the bridge, yes, we'll be regrading the channel because we're going from 16 feet wide at the bridge to 32. Yeah. So there will be some regrade. Taylor, can you go back to, it's the elevation section right there. Mm-hmm. So this, I don't know if anybody will be. So this gray line right here is kind of the existing slopes. So you'll see that there are some, this is the proposed grade of the channel. We'll be regrading the channel down to an even elevation. And then, coming back up towards the bridge. So there will be some regrading of the channel within the bridge, but the idea there is to keep that, within existing right-of-way, so that we're not impacting Mass Audubon land or.
Okay, and I understand your other comment to be that you looked at the impact of, right now, if there was flooding to happen, the water would get backed up, behind the bridge. So you looked at whether that water is going to go downstream faster now, right? Because it's not getting backed up behind the bridge, and that's what you're talking about when you say you looked at the impact of the downstream
Yeah, so personally, I didn't, our hydraulic engineer did, but that is part of their report, and I can't stand here and tell you I know exactly what the flow rates existing versus proposed are as part of that report, but yes, that was all checked to make sure that it meets, hydraulic criteria.
Yeah, and I could also say that we did gain actually a little bit of flood storage. One thing I forgot to mention, we are elevating the road a little bit to meet the new bridge elevation. So we're losing a little bit of flood storage there because this bridge is, and the street is within a floodplain. But by regrading, like Colin said, these slopes, we actually were able to add flood storage upstream and downstream of the bridge by cutting into those slopes and making them more uniform, which again should allow the water not to rise to a higher elevation as quickly.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
And I'll just add two more things for Brian's question. The hydraulic report that we're referring to is going to be part of the Chapter 85 package.
Yeah.
So you can certainly pull that, just the hydraulic report, and dig into that. That's going to be technical and probably address a lot of the questions that you're talking about. With regard to the width of the stream, part of the stream crossing standards are taking measurements of the natural stream width at different intervals, upstream and downstream. And so that's how one of the selection criteria of what's called the bank full width. And that's what's trying to achieve at the structure is trying to meet that goal. If it's a 1.2 bank full width is the goal of the stream crossing standards, but it's to the greatest extent practicable. And then the bridges of this bridge is confined by a driveway on one side, so we may not meet exactly the 1.2, but we're essentially mimicking the banks that are upstream and downstream. And so it shouldn't be natural, which right now it's not as natural to the environment because it's that constriction. It's accelerating the water through the bridge. It's also backing up at the bridge. Now it's going to flow more normal to whatever the flow's velocities are upstream are going to still be the same downstream. So it'll be a more natural condition and should not. The answer to your question is going to depend on weather conditions, right? If you have a bunch of different size storms, whatever I say tonight may not matter because of the weather and the level of storms that you get. But as far as the analysis that we do to make the design is to consider the questions that you're asking so that it doesn't create a problem of what you're talking about because of the structure.
Thank you.
Ted Zebra, Conservation Commission. Did you say you already mailed the NOI?
No, not yet. Yeah.
You're going to?
Yeah, we sent.
I was going to say, because I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah.
I wanted to clarify what you said.
Yeah, no, we submitted all of our environmental permitting to the town just to review before we actually make an actual filing to the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, just the review team has it so far, which I think you're part of.
I haven't seen it, so that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, we should, so I'll make sure I at least definitely send the NOI to you to review, because it is part of, again, like Steve said, just the core team's reviewing right now within the town. So we can at least, get ahead of it, make any changes to make sure we have a smooth NOI process.
Taylor, would you just put up the slide that has the web page address on it?
Sure.
Just if anyone might be interested in that. Any other questions this evening? Yeah,
I got a quick question.
please.
In terms of the cross section of the bridge, is there currently sidewalks on either side of the road there?
There's not.
There's not.
So but there's proposed crosswalks on either side of the proposed bridge.
Oh, you said crosswalks. I thought you said sidewalks.
Sidewalks, sorry. Are there sidewalks currently?
There are not sidewalks currently.
Are those sidewalks necessary on both sides?
It's a requirement of Mass DOT under the Chapter 85 based on the size of the structure. You have a structure that's over 20 feet, and so it's going to be here 75 years, and it's a requirement to meet the complete street standards. That's why Colin referenced the complete street standards.
Yeah.
Could the town seek a waiver of those?
You could.
You can seek.
Whether they grant it is entirely different.
Yeah, that's just.
You thinking about just doing it with one?
On one side?
Yeah, I mean, I was just asking the question, yeah.
The idea there, from a complete street standpoint, is, like I said, it's designed to be there for 75 years. So, you can only plan so well, what's going to happen 10, 20, 50, 60 years down the road.
Yeah.
You might as well do it now, because if you build the bridge with one sidewalk and then 40 years from now you decide, oh, we really need a sidewalk on this side of the bridge, that's major cost to redesign and, scab on a sidewalk to a bridge that wasn't designed that way to begin with.
And I guess one more question about the aesthetics of the bridge. In terms of railing type, are there different types of railing that would be eligible for this bridge based on
So
what
that
the town might like to see?
That railing that I showed the picture of,
Yeah.
that is the only Massachusetts steel railing that is approved for bridges. There are concrete barriers that we could use, but that doesn't feel like the right application to use a concrete barrier.
Oh, I'm surprised. Well, I guess I'm not surprised, but
This is a commonly used railing on a bridge of this type, meaning one where you want to see through it. A highway bridge where you don't want to have that visibility, you start using the concrete. The concrete now, you can see through these rails. You can see through the, there are concrete barriers that I think have smaller slots in them, but it's certainly, this is one of the most, I guess I'll say, this is the closest to the character of your setting of the railing types that we typically choose from.
Yeah.
And just as an add-on comment with regard to the sidewalks, and in order to pursue an avenue of trying to petition to remove one sidewalk or another, you'd have to be able to justify why. We're able to fit the structure within the bridge without any major environmental impacts, and I don't know what the justification would be to eliminate a sidewalk on one side or the other. And then, keep in mind that Mass Autobahn has properties on both sides of the road, and there is that one crossing path so people can park in the parking lot, walk down the street, cross over, and at least that gives it an opportunity, maybe they go safely the other way, because I don't know that either sidewalks is ideal, as it's standing alone right now, because you come off the bridge and you end up at the driveway, and then all of a sudden you're crossing on the other side of the driveway, where someone might feel safer to cross, coming out of the Mass Autobahn driveway and walk across the bridge that way. Aesthetically, it doesn't seem to be problematic, but understand where you're coming from. It might add a little bit of cost to the structure, but it's kind of that's why it's the long-term kind of planning that Mass DOT has done as part of their requirements, as part of their bridge requirements. And because of the size of the structure, it does require median to complete streets. Please.
You describe some of the precautions that you take in providing and eventually constructing a bridge within rare species habitat. As you demonstrated, it's the NHESP habitat that you're working in. I'm just wondering how that affects what you're doing.
Well, the first thing we do is we do our proper BMPs, best management practices for sediment and erosion control. With regard to making accommodations for what particular species might be present, that's where we have the review, and it goes to Natural Heritage, Endangered Species and the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. That's when they tell us what's there and what needs to be done to safeguard whatever species might be present during construction. They're certainly concerned with time of year, right? So that there's going to be a time of year construction, the lower flow season, which is, we anticipate that's probably going to be a requirement where you're working in the water. That doesn't mean you can't be working up on the road and doing other things. But when you're working in the water, it's typically the low flow period, which is, my memory of that is between June 30th, July 1st to September 30th. I think is what Mass Division of Fisheries and Wildlife considers a low flow period, but that will be a requirement as well. Whatever those requirements will come through the permitting process and the measures that you're talking about, those will be better defined during the permitting process.
Understood, thanks.
Mhm. Please, Tom.
So it did look like on the construction plan over the 2 seasons that we're likely not to have access to the caretaker's driveway for some component of that. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, you're talking about, yeah, so you're talking about, on this one right here, you can see where it says the water field barriers right there, typical.
Yes.
I think that's, the intent would have the temporary driveway.
Yeah, so there would, so if you look farther down, you see where it says proposed temporary driveway, farther down.
All the
So
way to the
All right,
left.
for the
yeah, it's like all the way to the left.
path to the, well,
That's where it goes to the well, isn't it?
yeah. Right, okay, yes. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
It's a good question.
It is.
Sorry to surprise you at this meeting with that.
No,
We were going to surprise you.
You gotta install a bridge somehow.
Right. There was a challenge, certainly the driveway was a real challenge with regard to the sidewalk rail. Another thing we had to look at is usually you have approach rails on each of the end posts. And at that section at the driveway, we don't have the approach rail on the end post. But what we had to do is look at what's called the driver recovery zone to make sure that that end post was outside of the driver recovery zone. That way we could leave the approach rail, guardrail off.
yeah, we also tried our best not to even really impact this property at all. If you do look at that north west corner there, you can kind of see there's like a rock kind of like on the slope there. It's because we had to carry a 1.5 to 1 slope, which basically means every 1.5 feet, we're going down a foot of elevation, whereas all the other slopes are about 2 to 1. And again, that was so that we could really try to keep that driveway where it was and not impact the driveway where it is now.
Brian, do they know we're looking at most likely doing a water system upgrade? It could be the same time period.
That's true.
Oh, at that,
Where the temporary driveway is, in the back, so it'll be up in your upper left corner is town wells. And we'll be doing a major upgrade sometime in the same time period. They may not coincide, but they're gonna be close. Most of the work is gonna be done to the right up the other 2 roads. We're gonna be adding a lot of more houses onto the system, but they're also gonna be redoing the well system in back of the house.
Right in that hole.
So they would need access to that.
And they're gonna need access. If it winds up, and it's not gonna be just a little, you're gonna have, big trucks and stuff, so something to keep in mind. They could wind up coinciding at the same time.
Right, and if it does that, that little access road to the wellhead now is essentially just a little woods road, and the proposal is to turn that into
like an actual,
essentially a gravel road, so.
It just-
Yeah,
It doesn't affect you directly, but indirectly it may.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something,
it would be an incompatibility
Yeah,
if the trucks are going in and out. And
you may have a lot of big truck traffic at the same time. Your 2% may jump a lot.
So this is the first time we've heard of this project. One question we certainly have is at least definitely I have, is the water going to go to the east to where accommodation needs to be for a water pipe underneath the bridge?
The water pipes under the bridge, to my knowledge, aren't changing.
there is no water pipe on,
Is it underneath the stream?
there's no utilities carried on the structure currently.
How does it, I don't know. Does it go through your property somewhere? How is the water pipe get across?
Must,
Does it? Does it actually go that far right now? Or does it end at the bridge?
Is there no pipes on the right
Just did it
side?
last year or whatever.
Well, maybe there's no pipes now on the,
There's no,
because we feed into town also.
yeah.
So I'm not,
What we know is that we asked back when we started this project a couple of years ago, and there was no, and we've also looked, there's no utilities on the bridge.
okay.
But we don't know where the
Nothing
water
goes-
in this town
Nothing goes
runs.
eastward now, but it's going to.
Yeah.
So we would
And
need,
this has all just happened because this is the new, federal and mass DEP thing on the plastics in water.
Yeah, you're trying to resolve your PFAS problem that's
Yes.
off to the,
And if it goes through, we've got to feed water to the east over the bridge. Or they've got to do, I don't know or they're gonna run a separate water pipe bridge, I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know.
I'm not in it, all I know is it's gonna happen.
yeah, certainly that needs to be considered. Accommodations could be made where it could be carried through the bridge. That would require, changes to the design as it is right now.
I just thought of when we started talking
Water
about
could also be,
And it just dawned on me that, yeah.
you
So
can
if
go
there's-
under the stream too, that happens often as well. But typically, if you're doing a new line, your least expensive route is going
Right,
across
so
the
if your
bridge.
bridge has no accommodation for that, you're gonna have to have one.
So our,
We asked that question. So if this bridge design right now does not and will not, because we're coming up on June, we're gonna be done in May. The final design is gonna be done next week. So if the town needs to change it to include water accommodations, then
Did that happen?
that needs to be accounted for in the next,
I think so.
Yeah, it did. So it just got passed literally Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to find out if the water,
I
if
think-
the pipes under that broke somewhere.
I think the proposal, and I reviewed the NOI, and the proposal did include, I think, increased service to the east.
Yeah, it's going to the east, definitely, but it just got passed, so it was something that wasn't on the radar literally 6 months ago, it just happened.
yeah, that's,
I'll reach out.
not,
I'll reach out to Time Bomb.
There's John, no, there's John.
Ted, I'm guessing that pipe is already probably molded, like they did for the other brook, direct drilling underneath the brook many years ago. But my concern is if you're excavating deeper, what's the depth from the bottom of the brook to the pipe, the existing pipe?
So it may be underneath the brook, is what he's saying.
within the limits of the bridge?
Yeah, it crosses Main Street, goes along Main Street all the way up Scannick.
Yeah.
Was it on our survey?
Do you know if it is on the north or south side, John?
I'm sure it's on the Laughing Brook side.
North side.
Yeah.
So it may be a utility underneath.
Gotta dig safe.
So
Yeah,
safe would have to know about that.
DigSafe doesn't know about that. That's not how DigSafe works. DigSafe only knows what you tell them, and if you pay and join DigSafe and tell them. When we are not aware of that. We asked the town what was there utility-wise. We're not aware of any water crossing. This is the first we've ever heard of it.
Just
The design doesn't consider, or,
Yeah,
and between now and June, it will not consider. But you can share the information with us and we'll be ready when it's time to consider. I mean, certainly it needs to be addressed. We're not
Yeah.
saying that it's, that this is the bridge you're gonna get and you're not gonna be able to get any water. It can be adjusted to accommodate whatever you need. So I'll just leave it at that. We're just hearing about it
He'll
tonight,
have
so
to
it's,
find out and get
yeah.
back to you guys.
sure.
It just that, so we started talking about the driveway, so that's right, we're good.
And that's what, if it is there, that's what I suspected. It was directionally drilled underneath the stream. That happens quite often.
Yeah.
But my guess would be it's probably outside of the bridge footprint.
It may be, it's not in my ballpark, it dawned on me that this is happening, and I don't know how it may or may not tie into what you're doing.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, I think we had talked about this before, but just to confirm, in this image, you had talked about, Chris, about the lip to be added on over the driveway to mitigate water coming down off the road. So 2 questions. One, was there talk about for either side, both east and west, on that north side, of a curve along the road? Or is it water is going to be coming off the road towards the vegetated area?
Yeah.
Or design?
Yeah, so any water that's being shedded away from specifically the Laughing Brook driveway there will be shedded off to the grassy area on the west side of the driveway. So there won't be any new curbing at all, just because in that area, once you get past, you can kind of see it in this image here, but once you get past that last catch basin that's way to the east there is no other drainage structure. It's really all that country drainage. And I think it honestly is beneficial to keep it that way, since there is so much land there to, shed that water off and treat it before it directly enters Eastbrook.
And on the east side of the driveway as well, there's no plan for curbing being added in.
Correct, yeah, yep.
And the crowning of the road is going to be?
The crowning of the road should be pretty similar. I know, at least when you get to the bridge, the crown won't be as steep at the bridge, but then as we taper back to either side, it will go back to, I think, on the bridge, it might be 2.5.
The cross slope?
Yeah, the cross slope.
The cross slope, it's 2%.
Yeah, 2%, and then.
Bridge engineers do 1/4 inch per foot, which is 2.08%. From the center, yeah.
That's at the bridge, but then the existing roadway is more of like a 3 to 3.5%, depending on what side of the bridge you're on. So the crown will slowly go back to that steeper slope on either side.
You mentioned a seed mix that you're using, and is that for the green areas in this?
Yeah, so it's really right now only for the seed areas that triangle out on either side. So it's basically where our slopes are going down. So where we're more flat, it'll just be loaming and seeding. But once we're on the actual slopes going to the banks of the Eastbrook, it'll be like a matting just to help stabilize the slope before it's put in with the seed mix I was talking about, the conservation seed mix.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll really only be on the triangles that you see jut out.
We'll follow up with you, and I'd love to get that mix.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you all for
thank you.
attending. Thank you online for attending. Are there any questions online that we just want to make sure we don't overlook those before we close them up?
Not that I can see. No hands, no questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. Do you want to start the recording together?